Some major breaking news. For the first time in nearly 3 decades, Miami has just elected a Democrat as mayor. Eileen Higgins defeated Trump-endorsed Republican Emilio Gonzalez in a runoff election that had national Democrats and Republicans pouring millions of dollars into the race, and Democrats won in just what was supposed to be Trump's backyard, a city in Ruby Red, Florida. A city in Miami-Dade County, which Trump flipped in 2024 by nearly 12 points. A seat that Republicans won by 67 points just 4 years ago. Just elected a Democrat. And yes, I understand that this race was technically nonpartisan, but let's not kid ourselves. When you've got Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, and Rick Scott all stumping for one candidate in particular, we all know what this race was really about. This was a referendum, and Republicans just lost. But here's the thing, Miami isn't some isolated fluke. It is the latest data point in what is becoming an undeniable trend across the country. Democrats are performing everywhere, and I mean everywhere. In the November general election just a few weeks back, Democrats didn't just win, they dominated. They won in New Jersey and Virginia's governor races by double digits. They flipped their first non-federal statewide offices in Georgia in nearly 20 years. They passed a massive redistricting ballot measure in California despite early doubts by a staggering 2/3 margin. They retained the state Supreme Court majority in Pennsylvania, another state that Donald Trump won in 2024. And then there's Tennessee. Just last week, Democrats came within 9 points of winning a congressional seat in Tennessee's 7th congressional district, a district that Trump won by 22 points, and where former Republican Representative Mark Green won by 21 points. A 22-point Trump district became a 9-point race. That's a 13-point swing toward Democrats. And here's the kicker. According to CNN, Democrats have now overperformed by double digits in every single special election for the House held in 2025. Every single one. In fact, this year's special elections account for 5 of Democrats' 15 biggest overperformances since Trump first became president in 2017, across more than 36 special elections. So, what's going on here? Why are Democrats suddenly cleaning up in special elections and general elections alike, even in deep red districts? It's because voters are waking up to the bill of goods they've been sold. Remember, Trump ran on one central promise: affordability. He was going to lower costs on day one. Groceries, rent, housing, eggs. That was the pitch. Vote for me. Your groceries will be cheaper. Your gas will be cheaper. Everything will be more affordable. That was his quote. And what happened? The exact opposite. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, grocery prices have risen 1.4% since Trump took office in January. Consumer prices overall are up 1.7% on average during Trump's second term. Inflation's been rising every month since March, but Trump keeps lying about it. Just last week, he claimed that grocery prices were way down. They're not. They're up. He claimed that inflation's at 2%. It's not. It's 3%. He claimed that gas prices are almost $2. They're over $3 per gallon nationally. And even as Trump denies reality, the typical American household is now spending $208 more per month to buy the same goods and services that they were in September in 2024, according to Moody's Analytics. That's $208 more per month. And when you zoom out further, the typical household is spending over $1,000 more per month than they did at the start of 2021. So let me say that again. Americans need to spend an extra $1,000 per month just to buy the same stuff they bought 4 years ago. $1,000 per month more than when the greatest offender of high prices in history, Joseph R. Biden, was president. Everything Trump trashed Biden on as far as affordability is concerned, just remember that Donald Trump is literally more expensive than that guy. But it's not just that costs haven't come down. Trump is actively making things worse with his tariffs. The Tax Foundation estimates that Trump's tariffs have raised the average American household's cost by $1,200 this year, and that number is expected to rise to $1,600 next year. The average tariff rate has jumped from 2.4% before Trump returned to the White House to nearly 18% today. That is a massive tax increase on working families, Americans, not foreign countries. And yet Trump has the audacity to stand there and tell people that affordability is a con job by the Democrats. And voters are not buying it. They are seeing through this BS, which is exactly why Democrats are surging right now. And all the while, Trump thinks that his voters are dumb enough that this nonsense is enough to keep them distracted.
Remember when I started in 2015, I made my first speech, and I said, we're going to bring back Christmas. Remember, the radical left wanted to get rid of the word Christmas. I said, I don't think that's going to work out. And we did it, and now everybody's saying Merry Christmas again.
Just some more culture war slop. It is no wonder Americans are bailing on this shallow excuse for a political agenda. By contrast, down in Miami, Eileen Higgins centered her campaign on affordable housing and the cost of living issues that resonate in one of the most expensive cities in the country. And despite being in a county that Donald Trump won handily just over a year ago, she beat the Trump-endorsed candidate because voters looked around and realized that Trump's promises are completely empty, that costs are rising, not falling, that they are struggling, and Trump does not give a shit. And the rest of the GOP is more concerned with coddling Trump than delivering for their own voters. In fact, Trump's response to all of this has been to deny reality and double down on his lies. Just this week, here's what he said about affordability.
It's a con job. I think affordability is the greatest con job. They look at you and they say, affordability. They don't say anything else. Everyone says, oh, their prices were so low. No, they had the worst inflation. And it didn't have much of an impact because the prices were very high. But our prices now for energy, but for gasoline are really low. Electricity's coming down. And when that comes down, everything comes down. But the word affordability is a Democrat scam. They say it, and then they go on to the next subject. And everyone thinks, oh, they had lower prices. No, they had the worst inflation in the history of our country. Now, some people will correct me, because they always love to correct me, even though I'm right about everything. But some people like to correct me, and they say 48 years. I say it's not 48 years, it's much more. But they say it's the worst inflation that we've had in 48 years. I say ever. But whether it's 48 years or ever, it's pretty bad. We had the worst inflation that we've ever had.
Yeah, one more. Yeah, when you talk about affordability, is going forward, are the American people, do you believe, getting impatient with the reforms that you're making? They've talked about it's about.
I think they're getting fake news from guys like you. Look, affordability is a hoax that was started by Democrats who caused the problem of pricing, and they didn't end it. Look, they lost in a landslide. We won every swing state, we won the popular vote, we won everything.
But while he claims that affordability is suddenly a Democrat hoax or a Democrat scam, people know what they pay at the grocery store. They know what their rent costs. They know whether they can afford health care or child care. And they are tired of being gaslit by a president who himself lives in a gold-plated penthouse and golfs at his own resorts while they're scraping by. And here's the other thing. Trump isn't just hurting Americans financially, he's also enriching himself in the process. While families are spending an extra $200 per month just to get by, Trump is showering himself in gold and money and opulence. He's profiting off the presidency, using his office to line his own pockets while ordinary Americans suffer, and voters are noticing. So look, the Miami race is important not just because Democrats won, but also because of what it signals. It signals that voters are fed up and that they are paying attention and that they are holding Trump and Republicans accountable for breaking their promises. And it signals that Democrats have found a winning message as we head toward midterms. Focus on affordability, call out Republican hypocrisy, and meet voters where they are. Because here's the reality. Trump promised to make America affordable again, and instead he's made it more expensive. He promised to lower costs, and instead he has raised them with his tariffs. He promised to deliver for working families, and instead he is delivering for himself and his family. And voters in Miami, in Tennessee, in New Jersey, in Virginia, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and everywhere else are starting to see through it. So as we head toward 2026, toward the midterms, Democrats need to do exactly what they did in Miami and Tennessee, Jersey, Pennsylvania, and on. Run on affordability, hammer Republicans on their failures, and make the case that people deserve better. Because the data is clear. When Democrats do that, they win. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.